Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. Today we are playing a 3v3 against Ubuntu, Saddam88, and Bart, who is a major, and we get into some major trouble here. If you don't want to get into some major trouble, I highly recommend leaving a like, share, subscribe, and all that. And I also have another announcement today. We are holding a 3v3 tournament here in a couple weeks on March 18th. Sign-ups are on the Discord. I highly recommend you check it out. It's got minimal rules for what we're trying to do here. There was a cluster opener as well, and I think that's coming from Bart, who is also getting his MiGs in the air, MiG-21 BISs, and my opener I'm playing as South African Motorized, as per, well, is increasingly common. I do really enjoy this deck, even though it has some sort of quirks and oddities, and we definitely get our helicopters hit a little bit early on. Pretty lucky there. That's the Beta 90 didn't take anything but 2 Sokals. And yeah, my beta is going to get just sort of wrecked. But this was interesting. The Mirage 111Fs from my ally, Kiwiland, they aren't able to really fend off the MiGs. They're getting chased now by a 27S, and, well, let's just take a look here at what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. One missile actually damages both. Second missile kills one of the other ones. They're both stunned, which means they can't evac, and they're turning into more AA fire. It was an absolute slaughter of all 4 of those 70-point Mirages. It was also really kind of interesting. These were both blind rocket pod strikes, so he couldn't see my advance at all. And we do get a little bit of revenge taking down one of the MiGs for his Cactus Sov, but I lost some SASF, and now I'm sitting there going, okay, well, you know what? I've got the major on this side, Bart is on this side, the other 2 players are over here, and we're going to put in some pressure. So some Rurokots getting some kills here. We killed some Conquerors teams, some BTRs and all that, but I didn't have the stopping power I needed to kill this T-72. I probably should have been just keeping on going forward, because if we close in, then we'll do some more damage. And we did get him down to 4 points of strength left over there, and actually made him sort of, well, run away, but yeah, I lost all the Rurokots. So, in the meantime, these Mi-24s are actually from 88, who was over on a different part of the map, and I'm unloading some SASF to try to get kills here, but that's going to draw some return fire. So I'm spreading around, I'm getting into the left side of Bravo, bringing in some reinforcements there, hoping to use really the left side expanse of the map. Over on the right, we have had a fair amount of success here in Foxtrot, so Kiwiland able to get up relatively far forward. Commandos 90 should kill Motostrelki as long as it does get the guns online soon. And there's some anti-air spotted, which is always a good thing for us and a bad thing for our opponents. But I'm not quite able to deal with that T-72. I'm trying to get tractors forward. I'm losing SASF to direct fire from a tank because my smoke micro is, well, not quite as good as it needs to be here in this game. And my Motostrelki, well, my Bocop are getting wrecked by Motostrelki and MTLBVs. So I was trying to I had a cargo that was trying to get up here to resupply these Para-Pathfinders. Frankly, a little bit lucky he didn't die. I actually wonder, does this guy get the shot off? Yeah, he's still shooting at my SSF, and we are going to be able to heal up a little bit. If I can heal up the Para-Pathfinders, that's a lot of infantry killing power on that side of the field. In the meantime, Motostrelki are taken out, Foxtrot is locked down. We're 0-0 right now just because Bravo is capped. This being a 3v3, each team had 3 command vehicles at the start, naturally. So it's sort of as you would expect, where every team goes for the 2-pointer and then one of the 2 sides. It just sort of happened that Fox looks a little bit safer from our side, Bravo looks a little bit safer from theirs. It's one of the ways to keep the map kind of ish symmetrical. So I have an SASF sniper team, and I don't necessarily love these guys. I had the activation points. I figured, let's get them through here. If I can get around behind my opponent, we could, in theory, get some good work out of that NTW-20, which is 2 AP power, pretty good range, 15 rounds a minute, and it is, of course, kinetic. So you can increase that KE power the closer you get. Bombing runs being intercepted, but we're getting pretty hard pounded in the center here, and I don't know, at this point in the game I was a little nervous, right, because Fox looks kind of okay. We can get some support in from Kiwiland, maybe in the center as well, but if I'm not able to stop this major, then it's gonna be scary, and I was definitely not confident that I could stop the major. So he has an SU-24M, it's going to pancake a single Caspier K car, and we do get some revenge here. My Cactus gets a hit in, and then the automatics are enough to take him down, so definitely worthwhile trading a Caspier for a bomber any day of the week. And that 27S was actually pinged by the SASF team here, so never underestimate these guys. South Africa Motorized can have surprisingly aggressive infrared anti-air just through its infantry, which is always a bit of a surprise. And my 8 MTV does find my sniper team while I'm trying to go up and forward. Bit of a problem on my end, I didn't turn off their vector. Should have, didn't, live and learn. And now we are getting some good fights back in against these Motostrelki, who have spread out enough to allow me to then isolate them and take them out one by one. So if we can get forward into Bravo here, if we can countercap Bravo, that'll give us a +1 ticking, and that is what we need to win the game. We're only about 5 minutes in, so really not too worried. 21 BIS also shooting in after that sniper. Again, not quite able to kill him, but I turned the gun off and didn't turn it back on, and so we get taken out by a single transport. But we do also get that second BIS, again with SASF, just in the woods. So 1, 2, 3 Strelas all able to fire, because of course they don't have tertiaries, and that means that they can still use their secondary and tertiary weapons pretty easily. This was a really nice move from Ubuntu. So there's Commandos 90, 2 groups, and this looks like a frontal assault, right? But there's smoke coming in, that's going to block off those Carl Gustav M2s. There's a couple of T-72 BUs back there for support, just against things like the Leopards, the Vickers, and everything there that, I mean, it's not heavy armor, but it is persistent armor on this side. And there's an MI-28 that's meant to screen things out. So you can see the Commandos are intercepting this column. Motostrelki are forced out onto the bottom, well, into the open rather, and will have to engage on the ground. And a bunch of Rover Wombats could do a lot if they had line of sight, but they don't. So the smoke cover from Ubuntu is really pretty excellent here. He's actually heading off my allies' Nor force, preventing them from getting into that forward town, where he's going to put his own Spetsnaz GRU, and that could be really, really deadly. So the Commandos 90 are retreating, but this position is getting just rushed, and it looked pretty scary at the time. However, SASF are still moving forward. My intention now is to move up and around to attack this rear part of the town in Bravo, hopefully, but Bart is not sitting there. He is a good major and very much proving why Buffalo's 85 are really not worth the investment a lot of times. I mean, the Milan F1's not able to really get kills, and then we're just getting stun-locked and overwhelmed by cheap Motostrelki and 5-point transports. So if I'd had that sort of volume, we would have held up a lot better, and instead I spent it on Buffalo's 85. So mistakes were made. And this is relatively worrisome. I have SASF in the buildings on the side of Bravo, but that's all I have really to block there, so I'm asking my allies for some defense. M41A1s will be shooting in at those BTR-90s, and at least fending them off for right now, and then I'll get some reinforcements coming up. I have some Buffaloes, I have a Rhino that's shooting in now, which probably shouldn't have purchased that. I probably should have gotten more armor for this right side forest. I didn't expect him to move that way because of my attack through on the side. And I mean, that's probably why he did it. It's because it was going to be unexpected, and it very much did serve that purpose pretty well. So I'm calling in some drill cuts. We're going to be getting other sorts of vehicles forward, but this Mi-24 VP, 90 points worth of helicopter taken out by SASF. Gornostrelki also found should be killed in the woods here, and now we're going to do something a little bit interesting. So these SASF are going to be split, and then we're just going to go through different parts of the town, hoping to just rush through here, get vision on everything, potentially get a command vehicle kill, and try to stay alive. I mean, we're going to eventually fail. But already we're getting nice vision on the rear part of this deployment. Looks like a couple of vehicles. Nice just zone defense there, making sure he's not caught by surprise. Does actually bait out a couple of LRACs, probably on 5-point transports. But now we're getting through SASF, just going up here. The second I get here, we're in business, because I can just hop from building to building to building to building to building. And it's pretty quick. It's what people do with elite infantry all the time, and SASF are elite. My Buffaloes unfortunately suffer because of my concentration up on that front, and they do get taken out by a couple of tanks with the infantry inside. So it's not for free, it was a micro lapse, and it's one of those things I have to learn how to avoid a little bit better. But I don't know, it was nice. So Bravo is forced out, Commandant are here now, we're actually ticking at +2 until that BRDM-2U does resettle. We have eyes on them though. And I debated leaving the SASF there, not pushing forward, and then using them to spot. But this is what would have happened, and we actually see the Motostrelki now just barely unloaded in time to dodge the LRAC F1. And, I mean, we get some nice kills, and then the Rhino is able to follow up. So I unfortunately wasn't quite able to get the command vehicle at this point in time, but at least we did get some sort of long-range howitzer downrange shooting at those guys and just being an absolute pain in the ass with a couple units of SASF. And I even have a third one here, this guy. So the idea was he saw the first two, he's going to hunt them down. He's not going to leave them alive. The third one was not seen, and so I thought about following up on this side, but instead we're going to go around and try to cut off just the back sections towards here, wrap around on this side, potentially get into this little area, and just be sort of not where he has stuff, right? That's the idea. Don't be where your opponent has stuff. In the meantime, Parapathfinder's doing okay. T-72B1 is spotted. We did get one tank kill off the Buccaneer. So, I mean, that's pretty well worth it. 85 points off of a 90-point plane that then gets out and can reload his guns before trying again. And the second I can get a bit more damage on this guy, I felt pretty confident rushing forward the Ruakats, rushing forward the Rovers, and reclaiming this section of woods, which, if we have a presence in the back part of Bravo there, if we can retake these woods, then I'm feeling okay, as Foxtrot has been counter-capped, but honestly, there's still enough of a forward presence here that I think we're doing alright, and then the Alpha Delta stare down is slowly inching in our favor as Milans get farther forward, Spezhern spotting these two T-72 BUs, everything like that seems to be going kind of ish okay. And this is really interesting. Spetsnaz Gru get pounded by Rover 106s, and Spetsnaz Gru are 30 points. That's not cheap. I'm trying to now split these guys, make sure they don't get taken out too quickly, and yeah, I mean, we get actually a kill on the T-72. That 85-point tank got taken down by a Rover. Never underestimate 10-point recoilless rifle jeeps. They can do quite a lot. F-111C support from Kiwiland, and that is also pretty critical, so, I mean, while I have been fighting a major over here, I've not been fighting him alone, and I definitely did get some nice support from my team, a couple of infantry kills there that will help me hold this town as SASF sort of just block the way. And with the Ruakats around the side, the SASF on this end, and the Rover moving forward, we were relatively doing well there, and we took down another 90-point helicopter on this side. So SASF, you can just never underestimate Strela 3s. They don't do all that much at one point, but if they're not where you expect, you can definitely do some good work. And that last helicopter kill, in addition to reclaiming these woods, is going to force the Major to surrender. So there are still 5 minutes left in the game. To their credit, 88 and Ubuntu, neither one of them threw in the towel and said, hey, I mean, we're just done. They were actually kind of annoyed because I think Ubuntu in particular felt pretty confident about his ability to get a foothold back in Foxtrot. The fight was not yet over, and I mean, there's something to be said for that as well. Fight to the end. I've been known to surrender from time to time if things get way too bad, but frankly, I think Bart had a good enough position. His KD at the end was not too catastrophic, I think, and he definitely could have salvaged it because he's a better player than I am, and that doesn't mean he wins all the time, doesn't mean I lose all the time. It's just, it means that given the 50-50, he's more likely to come out on top. So, a couple of Twardies spotted in the center, and I was kind of amazed how long these guys stayed alive. They've been around for a little while already. I was trying to get my Buccaneer online against them. The smoke cover was persistent, but never really huge, and you know, I have a couple of Oliphants that cannot take these Twardies on head-to-head, so my goal is to get up into the woods and then use that close range to increase the KE value of my guns. Also a couple of Peace Shrines, but just in the nick of time, smoke. So that had to be frustrating for 23, as, I mean, 2 Peace Shrines, you expect 2 Twardy kills, or at least 1 Twardy kill off of that. And, yeah, no dice. So, really good smoke micro there from 88, just in the nick of time. And there's another push coming in, so Ubuntu now with a little bit better income because, well, and availability because of the surrender of Bart, is just sending it all forward. Monostrelki by the barrelful, and they will eventually chew through here. I mean, it's the human tide, it's the glorious Red Army, but there's a time and a place for it. In the meantime, the artillery, sorry about that zoom, the artillery fire was sort of chewing things down here, so Kiwiland having a bit of a hard time just because he is so far forward, and that is sort of to be expected. But now we have bulk up 90, we have Buffaloes back up into these woods, Oliphants. One of them got taken out, but I mean, we're here now, we're doing alright, and I mean, yeah, I got really no complaints. The 2 Twardies are still back there, and that did stop me from moving up into this section of town, because as it turns out, Bart had gotten some Spetsnaz Gru up there, so he's spotting. My Ruakant 105 cannot take ATGMs. These guys have paper-thin armor. 3 frontal armor is just, well, I was going to say it's no joke, but frankly it is a little bit of a joke. It's barely a tank. It's like a tankette sort of thing. But yeah, so I'm pulling them back. I didn't want to rush forward into ATGMs. It just seemed a little bit too suicidal for what I had in mind that day. F-111C bombing run, always nice to see those, but actually not that effective as most of the Monostrelki did get out of dodge. I think our opponents had a little bit of the airplane crutch at the end. So it's really tempting when you're new, and I mean it's tempting for me as well, and for a lot of people that I know, to, if you're panicking, buy a airplane, get that last bombing run that you think will do a lot, and you end up throwing points just down the drain. So, I mean, cheap Motostrelki on the ground are doing really good work. They're chewing through Commandos 90, they're killing a couple of vehicles on this side, they're pushing the board forward, and they're providing cover for the T-72 BU to get his big gun online without being the sole focus for our attention. These 7 BMs, 70 points each, I bet neither one of them makes it out alive, and you know, I'm happy to be wrong if I am, but one of them's already dead. There's a couple of automatics. They're both gone, and they did not get 140 points worth of kills. Far from it. A couple of infantry, a couple of transports. That's basically it. But this was something that I wanted to leave you guys with. SASF have finally circled around. I have gotten them up where I was hoping to, and there's nothing in these woods. So that's where we originally spotted the command vehicle. It's no longer here. Not really too big of a surprise, but one man alone in this SASF group, still the last guy left, is able to get a spot on a BRDM-2U and what looks like an anti-air piece as well. Yeah, that looks like a Tor, I think. Yep, that is a Tor. 80-point Tor, pretty expensive, and that's going to allow me to target my Rhino downrange, aim shot at that 2U, of course, who does have really fragile armor, 1 all around, and we will be able to take him out, and as soon as we do, I should be moving forward my SASF to target the Tor with that LREC F1, just to say, hey, you know, this side of the field, this is ours now. And yep, a couple of shots going in, let's see. That's going to prompt the surrender pretty much immediately as soon as that's targeted, which, I mean, I understand. That, yeah, it's pretty rough. 1, 2, both down, and that's going to be the game. So, thank you all for hanging around. If you do have any interest in the tournament, one other thing I want to say, there is going to be a prize pool for it. We've had some generous pledges from the community, and right now that is kind of necessary because I'm still a small enough channel where I want to host these tournaments, I want to get you guys involved, want to show those things publicly as well as just provide a spot for the community to enjoy some good games, and I don't yet have the presence to really make that happen. So the prize pool is something I want to have more regularly, but right now it's thriving off of goodwill alone. So if you want to help that out, help us have interest in the tournament, help us have people willing to give like that for a second round. Look up the Discord, look up the tournaments, and look up the Patreon as well, because the more you guys help me out there, the more I can provide that myself for future sorts of events. In terms of KDs, 3810 to 3010, pretty close KD, and as I was saying earlier, Bart went 1090 to 1165. Most of that negative came as a result of his push into the woods where he lost those 85-point tanks. So that's all we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around. We'll see you again real soon.